flag, isn't it?
It's our flag, we own that flag?
Yep.
Yes.
It
So,
has to be repaired.
yeah, Al, we already talked about that. Al's gonna take it home and,
Sue's gonna fix it up.
Oh, okay, good.
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, we don't. That's gonna happen.
Okay, so we're still waiting on our speaker to join us, but before that, we just acknowledge that that Innisfil is situated on treaty lands steeped in Indigenous history. But the Rotary Club of Innisfil acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe people of Balsode First Nations, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The Rotary Club acknowledges the four sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture, and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. Can we please rise and sing to our poorly treated flag? Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons' command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The king.
Right now.
Great. So for those who perhaps have seen their agendas, we originally were going to have Kevin DeGroot joining us, but there is a scheduling issue. So Steve Wallace will be joining us instead. While we're waiting for him to join, Al, did you have anything as Sergeant Notes?
Good morning, President Tim. Good morning, everyone. So Steve's going to be with us very shortly, but I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. First of all, the sock drive. For those of you who are not aware, 5 years ago we had a sock drive because the clothing store at the church had no socks. They had all kinds of clothes for everybody, but no socks. I went in the other day and they had 6 pair of socks. So please bring me socks. We're going to do it this month for the next couple of meetings. Bring in your socks. And of course, this was prompted by when we were leaving the Maple Leaf game the other night. There was a homeless person lying beside the building. It was about 0 degrees. He had no socks or shoes. So I got in the car and I said to my daughter, I said, you know, this reminds me of the time when we collected socks, because I found out that homeless people or people who are having a rough time, they don't have socks. And she says, oh, I've got 24 pair of socks at home that I bought that are just a little bit too small for me. So that was my first donation. Okay, all right. So in keeping with the Maple Leaf game, you know, folks, listen. I can't impress on you how important it is to talk to people today, because people are not talking to people anymore. If you're waiting somewhere, usually in the old days there'd be a conversation going. Usually the old guys talking about what they did and bragging. Okay, but anyway, we're waiting to get into we had platinum tickets. We're waiting to get in. I'm talking to a gentleman and his wife, and I recognize them. They sit right behind the Leaf at the Leaf bench. They're right there. You see them at every game. So we got talking, and turns out he was one of the original engineers for Blackbird, and yeah, a really interesting man. And his wife very involved in fundraising. So we had a wonderful conversation. But I had a terrific good morning. Nice to see you. But we had a wonderful conversation during the game, because I sat down and the gentleman beside me, he started talking to me, and we were talking. Obviously, this guy was an outgoing person, so I was telling him stories about the Leafs in the old days, the Rocket and Gordie Howe, and he said, "Well, did you actually see those people?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, how old are you?" Anyway, it turns out he's a stand-up comedian. His name is Dave Hempstead, and he does shows across Canada, and he does a lot of fundraising. So you can imagine what the conversation was like at the Leaf game. With me with Gordie Howe and the Rocket, and him with jokes, and my daughter and her partner sitting beside us just going,
Hey, Al, what are platinum seats?
More than I make a year.
That's what I thought.
Platinum seats are worth thousands of dollars, and they're right at
Really glass.
right at the glass. You're right there, okay? And it gets you in early, it gets you access to all, in the actual facility, there's all kinds of stores and little bars and restaurants, and there's a whole world in there.
Places you'll never see.
Yes, right.
So these platinum seats, they're a gift every Christmas from one of my customers. He gives me 3 every Christmas. So we actually will get to see Raptors or the Leafs. So Debbie, good morning. I'm sorry I missed saying hello to you this morning. Nice to see you. Nice of you to join us.
Good morning.
And happy New Year. Nice to see you. So Steve's not on here yet, eh?
Not yet.
We're going to introduce Steve. I'm going to do it. I've known Steve for a long, long time. I want to wait till he's on so he can hear what we're saying about him. But I just want can I ask you, how do you feel about going somewhere and nearly the whole population is like this or like this? And I'm starting a conversation. Do you actually do that anymore? Do you do that?
That's what everybody's doing is this.
Because it's hard to find people to talk to. It's very difficult, but the moment you do, it opens up a whole world. I was sitting in an airport in San Diego, or San Francisco, waiting to go to Hawaii, and talked to this old gentleman who was sitting beside me. And turns out this old guy was older than me. But this old guy-
Ow.
it can't be.
No, don't tell us.
He played, I believe it was a saxophone. He was on in the American Navy, and he was on part of the crew of a cruiser. And he was in the ship's band. Big cruisers, thousands of sailors, they have a band. They went to Pearl Harbor, and on the stop over at Pearl Harbor, the commander of the base went down and listened to the band playing in the evening. And he spotted this one particular person. He told the captain of the ship, when you leave, he's staying here. He's now seconded to the base at Pearl Harbor, the Navy base, and he'll be playing in the Navy base band. So I said, oh, that's really interesting. He said, yeah, well, what's more interesting, at nighttime, I went into Honolulu, into the bars and into the jazz clubs. And when Dizzy Gillespie, you've heard that name before, Dizzy Gillespie, when he came to town with his band, he needed to pick up a couple extra players. And I was the one they called. So he played with Dizzy Gillespie for years. And he played with all the jazz greats in the bars in Honolulu over the years. So it is a wonderful conversation. I mean, I'm not a music guy, but this guy had rough shoulders with all jazz greats. It was just wonderful. It really was. Steve, there you
No.
We could maybe. go
We have
to-
other things on the agenda, Al. We can dance around until he joins if you want.
dance around.
Yeah, everything else is done in dance format.
Okay, take over.
Tim, I just texted Steve, so hopefully he gets it.
Thank you, Susie. While we're waiting for Steve, and we can jump, Katie, did you want to do the membership update, and then we can jump right back?
So this is you'll recall, a newer item on our agenda just for us to give updates about membership as it relates to club members. So we're just sharing that at this time, Michael Tuff has stepped away from Rotary and is no longer Rotarian.
Unfortunately, his parents have been dealing with some infirmaries. So it's sad when a lot of us have been through it, where you've got a loved one that no longer knows who they are anymore, and that's painful. And I know Michael's going through that right now with his father. So all our best to him. And I've reached out because I went through it with my grandmother. So just offering what support we can. So it's unfortunate he's just felt he needs to step back altogether. We hope that he can come back in a future date.
Oh, that's a shame.
He's hoping to come back, but at this point,
Yeah.
that's the status.
Yeah, he needs to focus on what's the most important, that's family. That's understandable completely. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else, Katie?
That was it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, okay, next, we'll jump into some of the old business here. So Peace Poll Committee was discussed briefly last week, and we had an initial session of it towards the end of last summer, but we had a committee, but it folded. But now we're in a position where we're able to move forward. And the peace polls have, I understand they have been delivered. They have
I
been.
haven't heard absolutely they had, but Ann was on it, and Cal and Ann and Greg were gonna set an appropriate time for both of them, and Greg is delivering them.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure, because we were chatting last night. So Jeff has a request with those to make sure he's involved with, because he wants to make sure that they're strapped down correctly. So, all right. But in the meantime, so now that we're going to have all 7 polls, the last 5 will dry now. We need a committee. And so I'm asking if anybody wants to be on the peace poll committee to let me know. So we can move forward on that one. Yes, Katie.
President Tim, could you maybe, just for those who may not have been as involved in this to date, just discuss sort of the timeline to have all of the work for the peace polls completed, and then maybe what the focus will be of the work, just so that way everyone's clear if they're putting their hands up.
Sure. Okay, so with the grant that we have has to be used by the end of June of this year. So that involves, so we got $2,000 plus $1,000, so there's a full $3,000 that can be spent on the polls, which is a good amount of money. The idea is that the payment of the polls are part of that. The last 5, the first 2 were given to us free by Greg, which is very generously. So the idea that the additional costs would be for any of the footings, as Jeff discovered a footing stand.
It's already 1 year.
41, yeah.
We're going to install it. I have the parts for it.
Yeah,
all the
so
stuff.
expenses like that, if we wanted to do anything fancy around it, like a garden, the cost for any paint to be done, and we need artists. Jamie Hardy did the first poll, and for those of you who've not seen it, we'll make sure you will get an update of what it looks like. It's fantastic. It's actually on our.
I think it's on my phone, and if it is, I'll pass it.
Yeah, I have it as well. But
And President Tim, we also have other local artists who are interested
yes.
in
Yeah.
painting the poles.
Yeah, and that's part of what discussion of the committee would be to perhaps start conversations with the Hardys and see if they have that great connection to the different artists, so that we don't have to do all of the solicitations ourselves. We maybe go through Sydney, because she's the president of the Arts Council. It seems. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but again, that's something that a committee should be able to discover. So let me know on that one. Also, unfortunately, it's doubly unfortunate with Michael leaving, but with the Youth Services Committee, of course, we've had a vacancy on chair in that one, and the committee hasn't met since. But Michael and I were at Nantyre Shores about a month or so ago. And we actually generated a lot of interest from youth. We actually got quite a few names, including a young lady who came and spoke with us here from her experiences of so what's the
Youth leadership.
yeah, thank you. And so we actually have enough that we could actually charter a club. So, but it's something that we need to have the committee ready to move forward on. It doesn't have to be done like tomorrow. We're probably like April, May, June, not less best time to start a club, but maybe September would be. But we could have all of the stuff moving in the meantime. And we have other resources. I know that Taya with here with Rotaract. There's the idea that we hopefully there's some mentorship opportunities there. And did the Interact Club in Barrie restart, or is it still?
They did. They're about 6 kids right now
Yeah.
for Interact, and they meet the same time as Rotaract
Yeah. And where are they meeting?
at the Barrie Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, so that's an opportunity as well for us to kind of follow along with what they're doing, and then the two could actually become like a network between each other. So again, if I know the as of last meeting, I think the Youth Services Committee was Katie, Taya, myself, and yeah, it was Michael and Doug. So that's it. So if anybody else would like to do Youth Services Committee, appreciate putting your name forward. And so we can begin. If anybody would like to chair that committee as well, you can put your name forward for that. Anne, did you anything you want to discuss about the General Assembly?
Yeah, thank you, President Tim. And this is more for the sake of, we have several newer members who may not have been involved in a General Assembly before. Our General Assembly is going to be on February the 22nd here in this location. I believe previously in past years, Pastor Plus was used, but Pastor Plus is no longer there anymore. And really nobody else is open at that time in the morning other than the breakfast places. It's really important that we have full attendance at the General Assembly. The General Assembly is where we get to pick the chairs of our various committees, the vice chairs of the committees, and figure out who the members of the committees are. You know, it's the committees that help drive everything within the club. They're really, really important. Yeah. It's important that the committees meet regularly. It's important that the vice chair of the committee is in sync with what the chair is doing. So if for any reason the chair has to step back or is not available at some point, the vice chair can just pick up with a seamless progression. I will be in touch this week with all the existing chairs of the committees to see, are they interested in running again? But we also want to know who else is interested in running for a committee. A lot of you have done your RLI training, and we think that's a fantastic start to get some leadership roles in the club. But we need people to step up to assume leadership positions. We're still looking for a president-elect. Right now, Debbie is the president-elect and will be taking over on July 1st, but we need a president-elect to come in, and we need a president nominee as well, who will be the one behind the president-elect. And that's important for succession planning. So again, if for any reason, you know, anybody has to step back, there's always somebody there ready and willing to step in and take the shoes. I also think it's really important, and we'll talk about this more at the General Committee, and Janet will definitely talk about it more in the coming weeks, just how much training is available to Rotarians. And people need to take advantage of that because there is so much available through Club Runner. And a lot of people are hesitant to use Club Runner, and Janet and I talked about this, and Janet is willing to do more sessions on Club Runner so people can just see what is available in Club Runner and how you can, you know, if you become a committee chair or you're thinking of becoming a committee chair, go into Club Runner, go into our district website. All the responsibilities for the various chairs and committees are all listed in Club Runner. So it's really important. We've got to get together and be cohesive and get, you know, everybody involved, and everybody should be on at least one committee. Now we have some committees that maybe are only a seasonal.
Oh, he's here. Is he?
Yeah, so if you're on a seasonal committee, please consider being on another committee as well to fill out the year. And there'll be some times when we have events where literally it's all hands on deck, whether you belong to that committee or not. So we'll talk more about it. We've got a session booked in another couple of weeks to talk more about committees and membership of committees, but please, please, please put on your calendar February 22nd to be here, because it's really important for the club. Thank you.
Just waiting for Steve to. Here he is. Hey, Steve.
Finally, I got it.
Good morning, Steve.
Good idea, Al. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very good now that I'm on.
It's great to see you, my friend. It's wonderful to see you. I have the distinct pleasure this morning of introducing you to the club.
Thank you very much, Al.
Are you worried about what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
All right, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians at the Rotary Club of Innisfil, this morning this is a really pleasure to be able to do this. Steve is a gentleman who was very instrumental with our club at the very, very beginning. Very early on in our young time as a Rotary Club, we embarked on a humanitarian trip. And Steve was the gentleman that made this all happen. Just a little bit about Steve. Now, there's a ton of stuff to say about this guy, but it would take up the whole hour to say it. Steve was a pilot with the Air Force. He was an F-18 pilot in the Gulf War. He was a pilot with the Snowbirds demonstration team. He has got a huge history of sports and hockey in this country. Steve, I'm going to leave it at that. We're so looking forward to this. And really, I really mean this, early on when this club took on that humanitarian trip, and that was a challenge that you kind of threw out to our club. And because of that, our club became what it is today. And so, Steve, welcome to Rotary this morning, a very warm welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Al. Hello, Barb. I presume Barb is there, and I see Janet. And I see Susie. Where's that? Yeah, the owl is there. But anyways, welcome everybody. Thank you very much. Hands up if you've been on a HHart mission. Hands up if you heard a presentation about HHart. Okay, so more than half the room. So then I'll get a very quick preface, and then I'll get into the update. I'll need to share my screen if I could, whoever's in charge. I have a feeling that it's Janet because she does that.
Not this time.
Not this time.
Oh, look at that. Look, I got you pigeonholed. That's awful. That's horrible. Let me know when I can share my screen. Oh, look at that. I think I can do it now. And I think I just bounced myself out of the screen I wanted. Let me just stop here for a sec. Get myself back. There it is. There it is. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation? Okay, I'll call that up. Green, there we go. All right. Yeah, can you still see that screen? Yes. Fantastic. So yeah, can you imagine Rotary without the ability to do the things we want to do to make other people's lives better each day? Can you imagine Rotary now without the Rotary Club of Innisfil, which, I mean, you're getting kind of long in the tooth. You guys have done so much for so many people, not only close to home, but also abroad. And what I want to do is bring you up to speed on a project here in the Dominican Republic where I am physically sitting that your club has participated in, and indeed many of your members have actually served. Boom, here we are. So this is where I am, way down here in the Dominican Republic. It's not far from Toronto. It's a nice 4-hour flight. Just to give you a little reminder, history, geography lesson. This is the island of Hispaniola. On the east side is the Dominican Republic. On the west side is Haiti. Two completely distinct, different nations, completely different cultures, completely different histories. Suffice it to say, Haiti was a product of French explorers, and the Dominican Republic a product of Spanish explorers. And they have a relationship that goes back centuries, some of it not good. However, back in the last century, the end of last century, there was a lot of sugar cane in the Dominican Republic, and they recruited Haitian people to cut that cane. It was a significant part of their economy. I mean, really significant. And now today we're left with a situation where the cane is gone. Somebody invented the sugar beet and was able to refine the sugar beet, got more sugar from that than the cane here. And it is busted in the last 20 to 30 years. There is a little bit of cane left, but it's mostly for local consumption slash export for liquor. So I can call it sugarcane. Now, those people that cut the cane and who were invited over to do the really dirty work are now aged from ancianos. The work was really hard. They had a very high quota of how much cane they needed to cut. There was so much of it that they had to build barrack blocks to house these people. Barrack blocks looked like this. They're basically, I think of it as a, you know, that hotel that you've seen back in the 60s and 70s in Canada. It's all concrete. It has 8 units on one side, 8 units on the other side. It's intended, it's about 8 by 8 square. It has just accommodation. It had a bunk bed with 2 men and their equipment, and that was it. No bathroom, no running water, no shower, no electricity, no services at all. Just this grated window and a door. Today, the cane's all gone. There's very little of it being, thanks, Charles. Very little of it being harvested in this north side of the island. And what's happened now is because the economy and based on sugarcane has gone bust, those men were left to their own devices. Quite frankly, the government, not unlike our government, and the companies that ran these companies and these sugarcane fields held the men's documentation. When everything went bust, those men either failed to collect their documentation or couldn't find it, couldn't retrieve it. And they were left with the prospect, well, you can wander back to Haiti, take care of yourself, or just do nothing. And they've been meandering from those barrack blocks all over the country. But now they're so aged, they're retired, they're broken bodies, really, they really broke themselves. And they're my age, but they look 20 years older. Now some of them have taken wives, had families, and we're into actually the second generation born here in the Dominican Republic. The government abandoned these barrack blocks. The men tried to stay in them because there's no services. It's really, really nasty. The buildings themselves, built in the 60s, have degenerated, and today they look like, some of them look like this. The places where people have taken wives and installed their families in those buildings, it looks like this, still decrepit. There's no septic, there's no sewer system. They're left to their own devices. You can see right in the very middle, they see 2 gray roof buildings. Those are the original barrack block, and just down the road here, 4 miles down the road, in a place called Bate Cangreo. Bate means sugarcane worker town. And all around this one here, you see these shanty towns have evolved. Most of them were made of stick and zinc roofs, and that they are there today. They're still there today.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. And the inside can look like this. When you have the single man, the man I presented was Matika. He was by himself. He was a little bit on the spectrum, and he basically couldn't take care of himself. He cooked inside. They cooked inside right into the 21st century, until the outreach workers convinced these people, don't cook inside because it's bad. All this they cook with charcoal. It's bad for your lungs. It's bad for your respiratory. It's bad for your health in general. But until then, they kept doing it. Broken down shacks. I talk about these people being disadvantaged and poor. They are disadvantaged and poor because of these reasons. First of all, they are not recognized. The kids that are born here, have been born here, now in their early 20s, are not given citizenship. They're not allowed to vote. They can't own land, and that's significant, because even if they were able to get a hand up and a hand out of the poverty pit, they can't own land, which means you can't build your own home. You can't have your own crops. They're not allowed to work on the normal economy. They have to work underground, or they're working those hard mule jobs on agriculture farms or on construction sites, or they're working at heights. These are the guys who are doing the high intensity stuff. And that's changing for the worst, actually. Health services, just like in Canada, you don't have your OHIP card, you have to pay for your services coming in the hospital. or present insurance that can do it. Well, these people don't have insurance. They don't have a local health card, so they have to pay for all their health services. As a result, they don't get health services, basically. Water sanitation, you've already talked about that. Right now in the village in Cangrejo, there is no water. They were used to getting water 2 times a week, 2 hours a day, but that's been shut off. And actually, now we have to ship water in trucks, and they fill up their 5-gallon white buckets and hold water until the next time the truck comes. Hello, Ralph, how are you today? Very good. And the weird thing about education is if they're undocumented, which most of them are, these descendants, they're not allowed to go to school until they're 8 years old. Can you imagine putting a child into school at age 8 with no precursor? Because their parents are illiterate, they're unschooled, uneducated. So these young kids don't learn as infants and young children anything. They're not taught anything. Matter of fact, their parents, they're typically parent, because it's usually a single parent situation. They're not allowed to go to school till 8. But before that, they're not getting a home education. So they're literally injecting yard apes into the school system at age 8. I can't imagine how disruptive that is. And also for each individual, I can't imagine a kid trying to plug into the system and catch up with his ABCs and 1, 2, 3s at age 8. Discrimination is absolutely huge. It's getting worse. It's at probably its pinnacle, a breaking point, I suspect. Immigration is doing sweeps all the time now. Not only discrimination because these people of Haitian heritage who typically look Black and have an African, because they were brought to the island as African slaves. They're the people who preceded them. They're Black, and the Dominicans, who are a mixture of the West Indian and Spanish people, are mulatto color. You can almost with a high degree of accuracy predict somebody's nationality or heritage based on their skin color. Therefore, and because in the last decades, everybody here in the Dominican Republic has been told the black people, they cause all the problem with drugs. They're all the thieves. They cause all our problems. They steal all our jobs, blah, 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 blah. They have more kids than they need. They're animals. They practice voodoo. There's a lot of discrimination. I've taken some of our translators into banks, and at every bank here in the Dominican Republic, there is an armed guard. The armed guard bars the door and says, "You can't come in." I said, no, he's with me. So then reluctantly, they let them in the door. And I remember having the translators, okay, it's a long lineup. I'll wait in the line. You sit in the chair. And he was shooed out of the chair. No, you can't sit there. And it was like, okay, hey, Wilbur, you come and stand with me. You're my guy. Although these people have come a long way, and I need to give you the background very quickly if I can. This is a way to kind of evaluate where people are on the survivability scale, or the what's the word for it? Basically, how their standard of living is going. If you think very crudely here, the type of water they receive on the top line, the top row, are those people taking water from wells or streams rather, or they're importing from wells where they have to travel a long way, or they're having water kind of like a public spigot in there, or at home delivery. While in this area, people were originally, when I came here in 2010, they were taking water out of the rivers and streams, and also getting it from locally sourced spigots. Quite frankly, nobody has home delivery of water. So that gives you an idea where they are. In terms of transportation, feet, not so much bikes, because this is a volcanic island, and the roads, if they're not paved and just left to dirt, are very rugged, and the pneumatic tires of a bicycle don't stand up. So then they end up getting motorcycle. If you can afford to buy a motorcycle, that's fantastic, because that means you have a job as a moto contra, they call it, moto taxi. Virtually nobody has a car here. The people we're talking about, people we're serving. When I got here, yeah, they were still cooking on a charcoal based fire in a single pot. Some of them have moved up now to the propane burners and the 2-unit electric, not electric, but yeah, two burner, it's propane burner stoves. They're still eating out of pots. And in the beds, you saw Matika's bed. That's basically where they are. Some people were living on the floor, sleeping on corrugated cardboard or just blankets. People are still living on the raised mattresses, raised because it's always wet and damp. And nobody has wood because the termites eat through the legs. Virtually they're still way down there. You look at ourselves, just fast forward to a thing like sanitation. There's no sanitation here. There's no place to put your garbage locally to have it removed. And we have a lot of situations in most of the villages where the people simply dump their garbage locally, very close to the village, and just occasionally it tries to get burned. It's awful in terms of collecting vermin. But the government, the local government, because they don't really recognize these folks, don't invest a lot of money to try to resolve issues like that. I took this picture unbeknownst to me, and it was a previous somebody had come in and put in the Taj Mahal of all washrooms and bathrooms and sanitation. I just took this picture to show demonstrate the garbage, and then lo and behold, LMA was there bathing themselves in this sink naked. I didn't even know when I took the photo. It was embarrassing to violate his privacy like that, but right, trust me, I didn't know. But this does show the case after the fact that this man was in his 70s and he had to walk from the village to this place to wash himself, and no privacy or anything like that. So that's suffice it to say, there's a lot of enclaves of people of Haitian heritage living here. I'm starting to change the term of Haitian heritage to Dominican heritage, because all the kids that are born here are they're born here. They're Dominican heritage now, with descendants from Haitian heritage. Talking about Rotary and Rotary's input in here, is one of our trips. HHart stands for Haitian Humanitarian Assistance and Relief Teams, or Hispaniola. I had to change it from Haitian to Hispaniola to satisfy political requirements here locally in the DR, because when the officials found out that I was using the word Haitian and serving the Haitians, they started causing us a little bit of grief. We're just trying to make people's lives better, just a little bit better or more, if we can, by providing medical, dental, and community development services. We do save lives. We do make the communities better. Puerto Plata Airport, we serve about 5 villages really quickly. We visit a couple times a year. There's Old Grumpy. We try to participate with the indigenous people so that we're not doing it for them, we're doing it with them. There's a great photo of a busy day. This was a paint the day thing. We took one of those barrack blocks and the surrounding area, and we got everybody involved. We tried to fix their walkways, fix their road, they had a 3/4-inch PVC pipe circulating through this village for water. And so we tried to fix their terminuses. And we're in that village to this very day. We're providing medical, we provide dental, a horrendous photo, but this gives you kind of an idea of, when you don't receive dental treatment your whole life, this is what happens. We know that. So it's nice to bring relief to these people, and it's nice to allow the folks who haven't got to this stage to help them by, now we're on the cusp now of opening a dental clinic, our own dental clinic here in the area. And we'll have digital x-rays. We'll be able to know exactly what's going on in the mouths of these people. And we want to stand it up so that it can operate year round. And that would be a great addition to this area. These people's health is hugely affected by their oral health. So we can fix these kind of problems. Matter of fact, we already see the difference in their gut health because we've been here with with our dentist for so long. Old guys like to have glasses so they can read. or at least pretend they're reading their Bible. They can't really read it, but they like to look at the words. We do stuff like that. If we get some talented people, like we have some university kids who could actually measure eyes and bring in some stuff. We help train the local Indigenous people about how to recognize health problems. We also help guys like this guy, Jean-Renaud Fessien, who broke his neck, got his neck fixed using HHart resources. This man had a broken femur for 4 months before we found him because he couldn't get in the hospital because he couldn't pay. And he needed a significant operation, which included blood. Blood is $2.50 a pint. And he couldn't afford the blood because there's no blood bank like we think of in Canada. We don't get that fixed. Those are some of the things we do. Install schools, Montessori school we've been supporting. We put in there. We've been fixing these water terminuses. There's my buddy Peterson. That's the after picture, much better condition. In a rainy season here, it is just mud. The before picture, there's the after picture. Made a big difference when the muck is not flowing. People are not tracking the muck all around. And you can imagine how many species of insects and parasites are growing in that mess right there. This is a little bit better at least. And the women can throw the chlorine, the bleach on this thing to kill anything that is on there. This is one of the local hospitals that says, hey, attention, don't use, it's broken. And HHart last May fixed all of these bathrooms. This was a maternity hospital. I can't imagine a maternity hospital without a bathroom for the women. Do things like, because they have problems with access to electricity, solar panels, so they could read at night. If they do have electricity, so that they don't have a bird's nest of electrical wires inside. You can see some of these wires look pretty precarious. You can see the ones down below the light bulb. That was the before stuff. We put in a circuit breaker panel so that if it overloads, it'll stop and we won't get any fires. And we put in a nice LED light and a plug-in for their services. Mark DeRoche, that's probably one of the finest photos of some of the Indigenous people from Haiti. It's our friend Fernando, still alive. One of the things, these people are not really recognized as people, and they've had limited resources. We took family portrait and photos. A lot of these people have no record of their ancestors and brothers and sisters or anything like that. So providing these people with photos was absolutely fantastic. There's Raphael with the ball cap on, the original voodoo priest for that village, with one of our young translators on the left, Alejandro, and we're interviewing him. We're trying to get their stories. We now have we're documenting who these people were and getting their life stories. Another one of our translators, that's LMA. The man was bathing himself. He's since passed, unfortunately. We do outreach as this is dental in a church. On the other side, we're doing medical. This is an example of one of the stick buildings people live in. What's that? My wingspan's probably not even 6 feet. So 8 by 8, it's all sticks. Imagine the termites in there now. I talked about fire hazards because they have no electricity or poor access to it. They use candles, and one candle goes up into those stick shacks, and we end up with situations like this. Talked about that. You've seen this. You've seen this. There's a generation 3 just starting, living in squalid conditions. There's LMA's house. That's all he lived. That's all he had as a pensioner. Well, not a pensioner because he wasn't paid a pension. He cut cane his whole life. He was left with this room. He was semi-blind. And it was at least helpful to make his life a little bit better. So we fixed up these places on the inside, made it look a little better. Nathan, he's since passed. Lots of activities. There's a little story there. This is a second generation, Nico and Wilson on the left. There's District Governor Steve and behind, this was last year. So coming down here on the HHart, you get to do a lot of stuff. Here they're making up those electrical panels. The nice thing about, interesting thing about Wilson, is he came with us 5-6 years ago now, and we started teaching him about electricity. He's fully embraced that. He's now semi-self-taught. We mentor him, we being all the HHart missions, mentor him with electricity. And so we've been supporting him with tools, et cetera. He started his own company, and last year, Wilson M. Fortuna Electrical Service Company actually invoiced HHart for some of the electrical services that he provided. This is absolutely fantastic. There's no modeling of reading, so we try to get the young people to read to the youngsters, provide books, and we have the fun team when we come here. Those barrack blocks leak like sieves now because they're so old, the roofs. To keep those people high and dry, we put in the corrugated zinc roofs, and that does keep them dry. You'll notice the mattress is outside drying. This was almost a weekly occurrence. The mattress had to come up to get dry. Not anymore. And we do all kinds of stuff to help. Several years ago, a Norwegian company or a foundation built a community center. They got land right where you saw those boys sitting in that open field. This is the same place, and constructed this thing right here. The joy of Rotary, they built the facility and we were able to fill it. In the front right, there's a kitchen. We put in all the things for their community kitchen. Just behind that is this is basically a dining room here, and they have feeding programs for children and the old people. We put in a medical clinic. This is the dental clinic we're just about finished doing. It looks pretty good there, but we still have a few things to do. We have actually operated it. This garbage is now removed. And kind of the update here is the immigration sweeps. Anybody from Innisfil here? Not on that one. The immigration sweeps continue. And we had, unfortunately, this week, we had a 14-year-old female taken out of her village at 4 o'clock in the morning by the immigration police. They are now targeting. They come in the daytime, figure out who's living where, and then they come in the middle of the night in their balaclavas and scoop people and take them for processing to the Air Force base. And they collect enough to put on a school bus that's got bars all on the windows so nobody can escape. They take them to the local border and they kick them off over the other side. This 14-year-old has never been to Haiti, female, and we've lost track of her. I'm heading there tomorrow into Haiti to see if we can find this girl. I'm really concerned about her health. And there was another woman, 16, who had 2 infant children. They left the 2 infant children, took the woman. So that's tomorrow's mission. Hopefully, wish me luck on that one. So that's the big picture here is the discrimination continues. People are still desperate. There's still a lot of need. We are here. We're small, but we're mighty. We're embraced because we've stayed in the same villages this is mission 23 that's showing up. My compadres start showing up this afternoon. Come and join us because we're here till the 4th of February, if you wish. And I just heard the flights are still under $650 with WestJet. We're going to finish off the dental clinic and start operating it. We're doing training of the Indigenous people on how to maintain the chair, how to do dental assistant duties, et cetera, et cetera. I just acquired that. You saw that room where I had my arms out. We're going to convert a room like that into a bathroom because of those people living in the Batake and Grail still don't have toilets. So we're going to put one in there, I hope, in the next 3 weeks. And the Montessori schools will be topped up with supplies. There is a school ground that we're trying to get. I'm trying desperately to get Grumpy to come down here or Doug Weber to work our backhoe so that we can flatten the terrain and start grooming it so that we can put in the playground right beside that big blue building. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. We've got 22 people scheduled in at the highlight. Our district governor is coming again this year. Richard will be here on the 15th for 8 days. Hopefully he has a good mission. I already have something special planned for him. So that's probably all the time I have. Are there any questions? And thank you very much for the opportunity and all the support from the Rotary Club of Innisfil. They supported us through district grants to do some of these projects that we have here.
Steve, can I just make a quick comment, please?
Sure.
So what Steve hasn't told you is that the first time you go on this, the first time I went was with my wife. And then I went back again with my daughter. But the first time you get there and you walk through, it's something you never, ever forget. It changes your life. And I know there's people in the room that are going to agree with me on that. It's something that you will never forget what the conditions are like there. And Steve, to you and to your whole crew, my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Steve's been here every year, numerous times of the year, but what you do is amazing. These people they're so lucky to have you.
Thanks, Al.
Steve, it's Tim here. Question I have, I know part of Rotary International's mandate with projects like this is sustainability. You mentioned early in the conversation about having to continually truck water in and propane in. So are you guys trying to work out processes and systems to make it perhaps more efficient to get water? I know that there's a lot of governmental bureaucracy that's obviously blocking you, but
so let me thanks, Tim. That's a great question. And I'm glad you asked it, because this hopefully will be very informative and maybe a little bit shocking. I wear another hat, and that's the district grant subcommittee chair. And so I have pretty good intimate knowledge of the criteria for the various grants. And sustainability is a very interesting subject. And I love discussions about sustainability, because to cut to the chase, sustainability is a very, very important criteria for the award of a global grant project. But it is not for a district grant project. District grant projects are meant to be one-offs, get in, get out, do what you can, and show the Rotary flag, show your club flag. And that's why the actual amounts of money are very small. You can't hope to do something sustainable with $2,000, but you can put a dent in a problem. That's what the district grants are for. So then let me zoom out and say, what is our, sustainability is all in the eye of the beholder. Can we sustain our lifestyle in Ontario? Like what we do, is that sustainable? So yeah, that's what that whole discussion, but we know what we mean by sustainability. We don't want to be spending money that's useless. So unfortunately, we are so small. We being HHart are so small. We can only solve small problems. I had this discussion with District Governor Richard 2 days ago. And, he's I'm bringing him in on the bigger picture. And he's saying, well, can we do this? Can we do that? And I'm saying, this is a political, the solution to these problems will be political, will be diplomatic pressure from governments, from the United Nations. And these kind of things will solve the problem, allow these people to be documented. The Dominicans refuse to document these people. They refuse to allow people born here to apply for citizenship. Not even apply. You can't apply for permanent residency. So that requires a diplomatic solution. The problems, and because of this, and then the discrimination, they don't want to spend resources supporting these people. End of story. So what's going to happen? What will happen is this problem will fade away. It'll probably fade away. These people will be either assimilated into the Dominican culture slowly, or they will die off. And I predict they will die off first. These young people who are 12, 15, 18 years old are not going to migrate to Haiti because they don't have paper. Haiti doesn't want them either. That's another more mouths to feed. These are people without a state who are stuck between literally a rock and a hard place, no place to go. And this is where HHart trying to fill that niche. We are kind of just moving around trying to solve these problems. But it's to use the starfish parable. You heard this, that one. You remember that one where somebody's throwing starfish back in the sea, and somebody says, "What are you doing?" There's a million of them on the beach here. Picks up, said, "Well, I'm gonna save this one. We're doing that. We've selected. We have the luck to be able to have the resources to serve and improve the lives of a couple hundred families. And so we're gonna try to resolve the issues of those starfish until we can't anymore. That was a long-winded thing. It addressed a lot of things about sustainability and rationalized the fact that we can't solve all the problems. Our mission is to try to make the people's lives a little bit better day to day. If I can get them a bathroom after 40 years, then that makes a big difference than pooping in a 5-gallon bin in the middle of the night and then walking out to the field and tossing it. Right? Because I can at least get that poop to get into the, into the septic system and solve that problem. Solve a couple problems. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but that's one of my favorite questions, Tim. Thanks.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you it was a wonderful answer, actually.
Taya's got a question.
What's the cost for people who would like to come on a
Sure.
HHart?
So what I've done now, the model is you get your own flights, and they're around $600 to $700 with WestJet or Air Transat. You pay your own accommodation, and it's about $100 a day. Typically, people come for a week, so that's going to be seven, and that's all inclusive. I'm literally sitting at the bar, and the dining room is over there. So you got open bar, you got the dining room, you got your room, you got this vista, like unbelievable. We're so privileged, and that includes taxes and tips. So we make sure we tip at the end. So that includes that. So it's about $100 Canadian a night. If you're by yourself, if you double up, I think it drops to like $85 or $84. And then all I ask is you fundraise $350 for our operations fund so that we can, we have trucks and vehicles we need to move back and forth during the daytime. We need to pay the translators that work for us, and we need money to do the things we do, whether it's we're start this playground. We're doing medical clinics. We've got to operate the dental clinic. There's some expenses to that. We've got to dig this hole for this septic system. And that costs money. Most of it is, some of it's in wages, some of it's in equipment. But that's where the 350 to the operations funds go to. There's no staff. There's actually no foundation. It's just Rotary. The HHart is the international service arm of the Rotary Club of Wasaga Beach. So there's because we have no foundation, there's no tax receipt for any of that stuff. But you'll find that if you invest in it, well, people vote with their feet, and people put their hand up in your room there who have been here. I'm almost guaranteed that they've been here more than once. Almost everybody who comes again. That's a good question.
In Dominican now, as opposed to shipping them as much, the things you can buy.
Our philosophy has evolved, as has our learning. Sorry. I try to buy on the local economy here as much as I can. We used to bring things down, which was great. We only knew what we knew. We didn't know what we didn't know. And we didn't know that when we bring clothing and dump it because people need new clothes and fresh clothes. This is one of the disadvantages. You look at some of those photos, the kids look well dressed. Well, they're well dressed because we brought those things for them. But you come to learn that there's a lady who comes into the village about once a week with a big sack of clothing that she's accumulated, and that's her business. And then when we come in and dump the clothes 2 days earlier, nobody wants to buy clothes from that lady. That lady goes out of business, and that's awful. And if you watch the movie, find it on Netflix or YouTube, Poverty Inc. Write that down, Poverty Inc. That changed my philosophy, and it made me realize that I was putting people out of business here. Now I don't, yeah. So
Yeah, that's why I asked.
I stopped shipping stuff.
Yeah, so you're not shipping anymore, you're buying local.
Pretty well. They're coloring books and crayons. I ship. because we can't get them here on the North Coast. There's just not enough. You can't, the regular crayons don't work here, like cheap crayons from dollar store type stuff that you find in this area. They don't really work. You need the Crayola crayons. So I ask for donations and they get shipped down.
Just make a note that it is now 7:30, so if anybody needs to run, but anyone else, if you have time, like Steve, do respect your time.
And Steve, that ne'er-do-well who was supposed to come visit us today, I understand he's on his way.
Yes, Kevin decided to come down and he's not physically in the air.
Yeah.
Wow, actually, he should be boarding right now.
To it, so. Thank you for subbing in. You're subbing in. Thanks for the big guy coming in.
Yeah.
We're really happy, and we'll have you here in person when you're back. And so that those who don't actually know you can meet your personality in person.
Yes.
And we'll arrange that when you have time.
No problem. I love to visit the Rotary Club of Innisfil anytime.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
You guys have a great day. Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it.
Take care, Steve. All the best.
Sorry, before we wrap, Katie, did you want to quickly mention the Rotaract?
Yeah.
St. Patrick's event?
Oh my goodness, sorry, frog in my throat. So touched on this at another meeting another time, but we have final details. You would have seen us, some of us share the Rotaract of Berries Club St. Patrick's Day Bash. So it's a fundraiser that will be benefiting the RVH Foundation that's happening on March 17th. Details, it's in the evening, it's a 3-course meal. You can buy individual tickets. They're $85 a piece and it does come with a drink ticket. But I would love to gauge the club's interest in actually putting forth a corporate table. So corporate tables are a table of 8. The price point per person is a little bit higher. It works out to about $112 a person. It includes wine at the table as well as a drink ticket, so you get the extra alcohol. But I think what really why I'm pushing for a table is it also includes recognition. So for us to show club support of the Rotaract Club of Barrie, as well as within that room with other Barrie clubs in the community, would be really great. So if there is any interest in people purchasing the higher ticket price for a table, so around $112, $113, can you just send me an email? And if we get enough, the tables are of 8, so if we get enough people interested in that, then we can put that through. So again, March 17th, please put it on your calendar if you're interested. And those, if we don't get enough for the table, certainly you can purchase your regular tickets for $85.
Katie, can I ask, for those of us who've already purchased regular tickets, can we upgrade them?
Yes, I will work with the group.
All right.
They mentioned, which was really nice, actually. We have 2 individuals who were the only and first to purchase tickets, and they were from this club, so thank you very much. But yes, we can sort all that.
What's the date again?
March 17th, so right on St. Patrick's Day. It's going to be at the South Shore Center along the lake there. Should be a great time. Again, it's partnership, it's the Barrie Rotaract Club, but also in partnership with the Barrie Huronia Club, benefiting the RVH Keep Life Wild campaign.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Perfect. We want to draw the 50-50 draw. Nope. And
I'm sorry.
the 50-50 draw. I think tickets are there.
I don't know.
Ooh, the number is ending in 762.
So then I think we've got what, 2 more meetings this month or 3? 2?
Susie.
So please bring me some socks.